started?
We started it already?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright. Well, what's up guys? My name is Jermaine Kearse, and I played in the NFL for 8 years. I played 5 years with the Seahawks, 2 years with the Jets, and I had a small stint with the Detroit Lions. Then I hurt myself, and I was like, I'm gonna focus more on my golf game after this. So Greg and I, well, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yeah,
Talk about it.
so I caddied on the PGA Tour from 2013 to 2020. Linked up with this guy shortly after. My name is Greg Bodine. That's good, thanks for me. And yeah, I currently caddy for Bryson DeChambeau on the Live Tour right now. I caddied for Tony Finau for 5-6 years back on the PGA Tour, and so I got started with Andrew Putnam. I'm not sure if you guys know that name at all, but he's my first cousin. I'd call him one of my best friends. And so for those, maybe a lot of people ask me, how do you get involved in the caddying? And I'd say half of the guys out there, I have a family member or a friend. So yeah, it's been a whirlwind of 10, 12 years just since I graduated college, but that's how it's looked for me recently. And then so after Tony and I split, I came back home and was kind of ready to start a new chapter. And the first thing on my mind was like, let's do an indoor golf, whether it's just me, like a little studio spot, or something bigger and badder than that. But in order to make it bigger and cooler than just something small, I needed a partner. And so I actually reached back out to Andrew and said, here's what I'm thinking, would you want to partner with me on this? And he goes, well, yeah, it sounds fun, but I'm also still playing. Andrew's still on the PGA Tour playing. He's young. He's 33 still, or 34. So he was like, I don't really see myself getting too involved, but I did just talk to Jermaine, who I'd never met. Jermaine, obviously I knew of him as a player, knew that he liked to golf, knew that he was just down at Tacoma, but he said that Jermaine and him and a couple other guys had just talked about doing something somewhat similar down in Tacoma. So he's like, I'll just connect you guys and see where it goes. And so a few days later, we met up at Starbucks for, it was like 3, 4, 5 hours, and kind of just compared visions of what we had going forward. And just kind of left there and shook hands and decided that we're going to start shopping for space and become small business owners, which was really weird how it all worked out. So yeah, we started looking for space in 2021. We came across a lease early 2022. Launched December of last year, and we're coming up on a year of getting this thing started, and we got a spot up there. If you guys are ever in the Redmond, Greater Seattle area, obviously I know you guys are, but for you guys, if you're ever in that area, and whether you want to practice or need to practice, or even if you don't have to, feel free to always come by and check us out. We'd love to host you guys. And we got 8 bays. We got an indoor chipping green. We have a putt view green, a dual projection putt view green, fitness center, a couple board rooms, a big snack station that these guys love to run through. And so yeah, that's kind of how we got started. I don't know if you got anything else to add on top of that, but no, Bryson called me 3 months ago when I was just in the middle of doing all this, right when we just a few months after we'd launched, and I got to know him caddying for Tony. Tony and Bryson were partners in the President's Cup, and caddying in Bryson's group several occasions. And so I wasn't a close friend of his, but he just kind of called me out of the blue and said, I'd love for you to caddy. And it was a perfect situation for me because I was done caddying 35 weeks a year, but as people know, lives 14 weeks a year. And so it worked out well with the schedule of being a business owner, partner, and a wife, or a husband with a wife, and then kids and all that. So, yeah.
Hey, I'm Matt Preston. I'm a certified athletic trainer, so I went to school for. Worked at a couple different Division I colleges throughout the years. So if you guys don't know what a certified athletic trainer is, just sports medicine, healthcare professional. So any college athletes that get injured, take them through rehab processes, hydration, anything like that, just pretty much the go-to person on the injury front. So got to work with a lot of different sports, from women's soccer all the way up to baseball. Got to see a lot of different things. Moved back to Medford and started working at SOU there, and met Noah and got kind of associated with the golf specific thing. My background, I played baseball in college and then retired to focus on school, and was able to walk onto the golf team, which is pretty rare to do. We only had 5 guys at the time, so I think I timed it up pretty good. I wasn't anything special. I didn't play golf in high school, all baseball all the time, and then just kind of got into golf a lot later than most of you guys are right now, and then kind of decided to make it a profession, and was able to join the PGA last year, and so now I'm a PGA instructor and focus on the golf fitness side of things and kind of incorporating the two together. So it's cool to be a college coach, work with the golf academy specifically, and then also coach some high school golf as well. So I like to wear many hats.
Yeah, so I'm Noah Horstman. I'm owner of West Coast Golf Academy. I've been working at golf courses since I was 12 years old, and I just loved the game, played everything growing up. In short, I've taught all over the country, from Cleveland, Ohio to Scottsdale, Phoenix, Arizona. We've taken group trips all over and done golf schools in other countries. And, at this point, with my family, I wanted to get back home, so it was always a dream to grow player development back in Southern Oregon. And so now, in the last 3 years, taking it from really no player development to over 150 different programs that we have at West Coast Golf Academy. And then we're also trying to look at these guys over here, because they've got a year under their belt, and we're in construction on a 20,000 square foot indoor training facility with a lot of the same technology. And so it's really unique to be able to see how golf is adapting right now, where a lot of the best players in the world can actually use this technology in their house and feel like they're getting a good practice session, and where the indoor space is coming and how it's getting there. And just a lot of places only have really short seasons, so for you to be able to actually have something in your garage or close by like we have, and then have coaching, it's just going to be a really, really cool thing. So looking forward to talking with you guys tonight. So Jermaine, if you want to talk to us a little bit about why we're here and the Team Up series, and how it all came to fruition, would be great.
Yeah, but before I want to do that, this is Robbie Hitt. He's our director of player development. We brought him up. Robbie has a younger son who's also in the junior golf, and he's been a big part of kind of our developmental program, our junior programs. So I just wanted to introduce him as well, because he's been a huge part of helping us build what we're doing, including why we're here today, and kind of like the Team Up series a little bit. So when we were kind of like going through building out, I knew I kind of wanted to focus a lot on junior golf. It's kind of a huge passion for me. I love golf. Half of those guys beat me. Sometimes I beat them and make them do push-ups. But I'm just like a very super competitive person, and I was just kind of looking at all the other different sports and like kind of like the landscapes. I mean, I don't know if you guys all play multiple sports, but you have like AAU basketball, you have club baseball, soccer, football is kind of finally catching up with 7-on-7, and so I was getting into the golf space. I'm like man, like how can I somehow bring some sort of club team aspect to junior golf, because a lot of you guys probably play your Oregon's Junior Association, AJGA, US Kids, all these individual type things. And the thing that made me really think about it is I have a really good relationship with the University of Washington coach, Alan Murray, and just kind of really got to start talking to him. And especially, being in Oregon and us being up in Washington, we're not the biggest states, and we kind of have a smaller pool of players, and I just wanted to kind of create an environment where we can all like be in the same area, and some of the best players in the area are constantly being challenged by each other and pushing each other to get the best of our potential, because everybody in here has potential. And so we're trying to create an environment to where we can be pushed and challenged constantly, because I truly believe, golf is a hard sport. He knows a lot of good players. I know a lot of good players that you might thinking like, how's this guy not on the PGA Tours? Because it's really freaking hard. And just knowing that, and I was blessed and lucky to reach the pinnacle of my sport, and just seeing the difficulty, it just kind of showed me like how we have to find ways in every inch. They always say football is a game of inches. Well, I always feel like golf is a game of millimeters. Like a slight degree of a club face can change the trajectory of a ball of shape. And so I'm like, how can we get better and challenge each other in the smallest ways? And so the team up series kind of came up where, one, I wanted to bring like the culture and the community and the brother and the locker room feel of what I had in football, and see if I could bring it into golf to kind of create this environment to where you guys are constantly pushing each other. And I'm like, you know, it would be great to travel with your buddies. Like, I don't know if you guys played any club sports and you're traveling. Like, I played AAU basketball, traveled to Florida, Houston, Texas, or Houston's in Texas, Vegas, all these different places. And I just thought how cool it was to be. I'm there with with all my buddies, and we're competing. And so I wanted to bring that to golf. And, you know, I look at college coaches and I'm like, you know, their number one priority is to win a natty. And so they're not, you know, would it be great to have all the top players in the country? Some schools might have the pick of the litter, a lot of them don't. And so I'm like, it could be a really cool way for coaches to see how you guys interact, you know, on a team. I know you guys play high school golf and that's great and everything, but we're talking about being on a team where it's surrounded by some of the top players in your area. And so for me, I'm like, all right, let's get into this mode to where college coaches can like not only see how you guys play individually, but also see how you interact with the team. I don't know, like a lot of you, with college golf, there's so many different dynamics. You get on a college golf team, I'm pretty sure you guys have qualifiers to play in tournaments. You don't just get on the team and play in tournaments. Like, you're competing against your team socially. Can you integrate and get along with your teammates? Like, there's so many, and then you have school. So there's like so many different aspects that come with college golf where, you know, it was our idea to like try to help that transition from high school and junior golf to college golf. And that's why we kind of created the team up series. So this was the first. I reached out to Noah. It came about, I saw Noah commented on another junior academy's post who already did a 3-team tournament down in Florida. It was the Golf Room from Ohio. Kyle Morris, he's the head guy there. I know him a little bit. I think it was the Core Academy in Boston and then the Bender Academy in Florida. So I'm like, all right, it's kind of picking up some steam. Some people are already kind of seeing the vision of like where junior golf can kind of go. So I kind of wanted to get, you know, on it with the West Coast and the Northwest. So I reached out to Noah because I saw him commenting. He was like, hey, let us know if, you know, we can get on into action. So I knew he was down to do it. So I reached out, and, you know, he was happily to kind of set this up. Originally, our thought process is to treat it every tournament like a college invitational. So we had another team that was going to join us, but they had dropped out. But it would have been originally like an 8-count 5, and then also an individual champion. So there would have been an individual champion, but also a team champion, which in college you play 36 and 18. And so going down the road, that's kind of our vision of how these tournaments will look. We're trying to plan another one in January, possibly in Arizona and California, have 5 teams, and we'd love for you guys to be a part of that as well, to just kind of keep this momentum going and try to make it into a really good thing. I don't know if you...
Yeah, like Jermaine said, the next, you know, there's nothing set in stone, but the 2 people we're talking to is Boyd Summerhays, who teaches Tony Finau and a few other guys on the PGA Tour, and I'm talking to him about getting a bunch of his juniors together. He doesn't have an academy per se, but teaches a handful of juniors. And then Dana Dahlquist, who's Bryson's swing coach, he's in Long Beach. He's talking about having us get over to PGA West, and he has an academy down in Long Beach. And so I'm trying to network and use my connections as best as I can and get really good players in front of you guys, and to where you can kind of compete how Jermaine wants you guys to compete, and do it in a really fun atmosphere and really nice courses.
So I said this earlier from college coaching perspective that AJGA is great, right? It's easy to look up stats. It's easy for me to kind of figure out who's playing really good. There's junior golf scoreboard, there's all that stuff. But if I had the choice of looking at an AJGA event and I had a choice of looking at a team up series event and the direction that's going, Jermaine hit the nail on the head. I get to see how you interact as teammates, and I think that's one of the number one things of being able to keep somebody for 4 years, see them graduate, and see where they're going to get to and where their potential could lead to. So if you're looking at where you want to go, this is the direction I would definitely be favoring. And team golf is so fun. Like, we do this as professionals too. Matt and I qualify for an Oregon chapter PGA event, and it's the most fun thing. We don't make money in this event, but it's all about pride. It's about playing for your area, and we've won it 2 of the last 3 years because we care. And it's the same thing you guys are doing out there as you're trying your hardest because you know you want to win, and it's really, really cool to see. Love this environment. Well, I kind of think that we could open up some questions. I mean, that's a team up series, right? And I have some questions in case you guys don't, but I think we should just kind of open it up. Raise your hand if you guys have something for these guys. Start with Katie.
So, as a professional sports player and as somebody who caddies for somebody on tour, my biggest question and something that I struggle with when I go out to play competitive golf or anything competitive for that matter is like how to prepare for it on the mental side and how you stay in it, stay focused and all that. So I was wondering what's your guys' process about how you go about doing that and how you stay in it?
Yeah, I actually shared this story with a couple of the kids. We were at dinner last night. So, from the mental side, so you guys remember when Tiger won the Tour Championship and there's a million people on the course and he came out of the swarm? The next week we went to the Ryder Cup in France. Tony was on it, so we get on like Tuesday, we get out of the clubhouse, we're heading back after a practice round. It's just Tony and I. They have these little cars that take you to the hotel. We're getting in the car and Tiger pops out of the clubhouse and is like, "Hey, can I join you guys on a ride?" And we're like, "Yes, that sounds good." So I sit in the front seat, driver in the front left, Tiger sits right behind me, Tony sits in the back left, and Tony starts asking him some questions about, how he won the Tour Championship. That was his big coming out party. Obviously he won the Masters the next year, he won the Zozo the next year as well, but that Tour Championship was like his coming out party. And so he starts talking, and something that I was shocked to hear, that I've passed along to a lot of people just to give you guys perspective, is if you're a golf junkie, you might remember he hit the fairway, he hit it in the front right bunker on the par 5 on 18 in Atlanta. And he tells, he's talking to Tony and myself, and he's like, "Yeah, I was actually, when I walked up to the bunker, I visualized myself blading it out of bounds over the hedges bushes into the clubhouse, out of bounds, and losing the tournament." So Tiger Woods just said to Tony, and Tony goes, "No way." He goes, "I promise you." He's like, he literally goes, "Did you see the fat runner I played out of the bunker?" And so to me, for you guys, I think it's important what to take away from that is this is Tiger Woods, who's obviously the greatest golfer of all time, and you'd say his biggest strength is mentally. So it's this is the top 0.1% of the top percent, and he has, when he's playing his best, this isn't when he was struggling. This is Tiger when he's winning and top 10ing a bunch, going in. He made it to the Tour Championship, and he walked up to a bunker shot that has the clubhouse right behind it, that we've all been there before, whether it's a bunker shot or a tight lie with a wedge. And he goes, "Holy crap, if I blade this goes out of bounds and I lose the tournament," because he had to make a par. But to me, what I gathered from that was what he can do in that scenario is have that thought go in one ear, and instead of it bouncing around in his head for 20, 30 seconds or 10 minutes until you hit the shot, he's put in the work to where, obviously he's very skilled, but he's put in the work to where he's like what he said, he's like, did you see the fat runner that I played? Because he probably was like, okay, I just had this thought that I don't want to do, so I'm going to hit a half inch behind the ball, or a half inch more behind the ball than I'm used to. Maybe you hit 1 or 2 inches behind the ball. So he, in his head, is like, okay, I'm going to just give myself that half inch of air a room for error, just in case that if I do get it to where if I played it normal and I bladed it, instead it flies the hole and has a lot of spin and stops right there. And even if I'm going to swing hard enough to where if I hit an inch behind that, it's going to get out of the bunker, but it's going to cover the lip and chunk out to 12 feet, and I can two-putt for. So for him, it was like, I think he didn't say this, but I bet it went in one ear, and he just thought to himself, okay, let's just make extra. Let's make sure that you just hit a little bit behind the ball. I don't have to hit the perfect bunker shot. And probably 2 seconds later, it popped out of his right ear, and he just went in. And because he's put in the work and the time and the practice, that's what I'd say. Like, even though you might not think mentally, like, that matters a lot, but if you guys practice your butt off and put in the work, like, you're gonna trust your skill set a lot more to where, like Tiger, he's just gonna try to hit a little bit further behind the ball and chunk that thing out there and two-putt for the trophy. But I guess I know that's not like there's a lot of tricks and like mentalities and like things you can do to be really mentally strong. But I would encourage you guys, like, this is the quickest information that I can give you that I think will like help you guys long term, is that don't fight those thoughts, because Tiger Woods at his best has those thoughts as well. And it's just like what he's done in order to get past that is just put in the work and know that that'll pay off in those scenarios, because like I said, it'll go in one ear and out the other.
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback off that, like, there's two things I have. The first thing is you have your conscious is what you are constantly thinking in your head. You're not talking right now, so you're talking to yourself at some point. That's your conscious. So, and your subconscious is what your conscious level is constantly training. And to answer your question, like, you got to like constantly train yourself in the mental aspect, like how you talk to yourself, what are you thinking, especially in golf. I mean, like, golf is like the most mental game. Like, it drives me crazy, but it's something that you have to like constantly like train yourself, because your subconscious level is always recording what you're thinking, what you're talking, how you talk to yourself. And that's what it's going to record. And you always hear people like, oh, he's in the zone. Like, a lot of that is people just acting on their subconscious level. They train that. And so when they're like in this zone, it's the subconscious level is what you do when you don't have time to think, when it's just like a reaction. And that's what you have to train the most. And the second thing is we use a model, this quadrant model, and Robbie can kind of piggyback a little bit. And so you can think of this little quadrant, like in the upper right is like your future positive, and then you have the bottom right, which is a future negative. Then you have the top left, which is a past negative or past positive, and then the bottom left is a past negative. And we use this model of like trying to like stay in the middle. We always tell all of our players, they haven't really heard it this much, but in our junior program we talk about how to stay in the middle, because the reality is you're gonna bounce around in these quadrants. You're gonna have success. Well, the thing is, everything has two options of it. It can be a positive, but it can also hurt you. So, you, like, for instance, for being in the future positive, like, oh, I'm gonna do well, you don't do well, well, now you're in the past negative. And so the thing is like, we tell a lot of our players is like, it's okay to bounce around in all these different quadrants, because that's life. You're gonna bounce around, but like, the people who have the most success is who can bring themselves back to this middle area. And it's not even like this pinpoint area. It's like a pretty big sized box that you can kind of bounce around, but it's just about recovering and gaining your composure and bringing yourself back. And that goes back to the training. You're like, it's something that you have to constantly train yourself. Like for me, like when I played, if I dropped the pass, here's a perfect example. It's kind of like a toot the horn type of situation. We play in the NFC Championship. We're playing against Green Bay. I had 4 targets and 4 interceptions. So Russ threw me the ball 4 times, and each time it got picked off. And like, you talk about as far bottom left as you can possibly go. You can probably think about that. And for me, went to the bench, and I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna feel sorry for myself. We still have a lot of game left. Like, I might get another opportunity, and like, I can't sit in this bottom quadrant when there might be more opportunities to come up. and then, you know, we get actually going to overtime, and then I get another opportunity and end up scoring the game-winning touchdown to go to the Super Bowl. And so for me, it's like you always have to constantly, like, there's always going to be some sort of adversity. There's always going to be some sort of obstacle in your way, but like those are the things that helps you build perseverance and grit. And Pete Carroll was a huge person on grit, and a lot of the best players in the world that you see are really good at having grit and perseverance, because the reality is you're going to get bad breaks, you're going to get bad bounces, you're going to get bad lies, and are you going to sit there and you're going to complain about it and feel sorry for yourself, or are you going to sit there and try to find a way to kind of work through that and find the positive and a positive result of all of that? So it's constant training. You got to do it every day. It's not easy. When you catch yourself kind of like getting into that, you got to just correct it. And the more you correct it, the easier it's going to get.
Who knows? All right, I've got a couple of questions that we'll just run through the panel and let them answer to kind of wrap up. So, because you guys are elite level high school golfers that probably want to play in college, we'll just start down and kind of work up. But what do you think most junior golfers are missing prior to college? Anybody can go. It's totally fun.
Just kind of seeing, you know, a lot of athletes at the college level, you know, seeing freshmen, you know, straight in from high school, and you're kind of on your own for the first time. I think the biggest thing is developing habits, because you know, you're at the first time where you're reliant on yourself. You don't have anybody else helping you do anything, and you're making the huge jump into the next level from high school to college. And if any of you guys don't know, it's a lot larger of a leap than you would think. So small things, practice habits. You don't have anybody telling you when or how to practice. Sleep habits, you don't have anybody telling you when to go to bed. So those are probably two of the biggest things. And then third is nutrition, on what to eat and how to fuel your body to train the right way. So all those things, if you can develop really good habits and stick to those guns before you get to the college level, I think that's going to set yourself up for a lot of success.
It's pretty accurate right there. Like you said, just like having that discipline to make the right choices when it's not the most fun choice to make. Like you said, nutrition. I'm just gonna double down on that.
Yeah.
Right.
I would say detail. Like, if I ask, you know, Tygan, what do you want to work on this next off season? Oh, I want to work on my putting. Like, be as detailed as possible in like what you want to do, because literally, like I said, golf is a game of millimeters, and that's what it's gonna take to get to the level that I think all of you guys want to get to. And you got to be detailed in everything that you do, and that detail is going to lead to how you do everything. We always say how you do one thing is how you do everything, and that is the absolute truth. Like, if you're not getting it done in school, like, you lack discipline. You're not going to have discipline in your game. You're not going to have discipline in your social life. Everything is tied together. Like, that's how small that the amount of error you have in trying to get to the places you want to get. Like, I'm telling you, it's that hard. And I tell these guys, like, I don't mean to like be super blunt about it, but like, it is that hard. And if you have to do, you got to ask yourself, like, how bad do you really want it? You know, like, one of our mantras for our Super Bowl winning team is the greater the sacrifice, the greater the reward. You know, and so what are you willing to sacrifice? Whether it's like going out with your friends or hanging with your friends or doing what you, not saying you don't, golf is everything, because, you know, it's not your identity, it's not who you are, it's what you do. But that's the amount of work you need to put in to reach the goals. Whether you want to be just a college player, that's fine. Whether you want to be a PGA Tour player, like, that's going to be even harder. So you got to ask yourself, like, how bad do you really want it, and what are you willing to do that nobody else is doing? Because everybody says they want it. Not everybody does the things that it takes to do it.
Yeah, I love that. Those are great. So I would say communication. We can't help you unless you ask for it. I say that all the time to our teachers. I think start now, right? You've got coaches right here that help you on a regular basis, but how often do you have maybe a poor tournament and you don't contact your coach about it, or you have a great tournament and you don't tell them, right? And then get back to work on those things because they just want to help you and they want to be part of it. So we work really hard on that as freshmen come in, and now that I have a second year program, the upperclassmen are starting to help it. So we're building our identity right now in our culture, and each year is different. So also know that each year is going to be different depending on how the recruits come in. That's good. All right, question number 2. Recruiting. And again, Greg, did you play sports in college at all? A little bit?
Division 2, yeah.
There you go, perfect. So recruiting. We've all been recruited. Characteristics that you feel make up a golfer, and Jermaine, you can talk about any side of the recruiting process, obviously. So.
Are you talking about just like what makes you recruitable?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. It's kind of like what you guys touched on earlier with this format, is like seeing how you fit in with the team. We've had a lot of college coaches come through Evergreen Golf Club already, and the resounding like consistent theme. Obviously, they want good players and they're skilled or whatever, but they're like, you could have a great player, but if they don't fit in well with their team and their teammates, and they cause problems, or they just don't gel, it couldn't even be something blatantly wrong, but they just don't gel. Like, they would rather have someone that's slightly, that's not as good, but works well with the team. You're spending hours every day, you're going on trips together, you're sharing rooms, to where if I guess what I'm trying to say is just like make sure that you're from a social aspect, that you're able to gel with your teammates, and that you're not selfish, that you work hard, that you don't slack, and you're one of the people that set that pace. And that's from UW coaches have said that. That's from high level Division 1 to Division 3. That's a consistent theme that I've heard. It's something, like I played Division 2, and I could see that we had a couple guys that were really, really good players, but they tend to drag the team down a little bit, and it showed, and it was just a lot easier for our coach to manage the guys who fit in well.
How you do one thing's how you do everything. I mean, it's as simple as that shows consistency, that shows accountability, and commitment. I mean, how you do one thing's how you do everything.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of that, I think, when you're in college and high school, you make these relationships, and how good of a teammate you are lasts a lot longer than how you played in college, I think. So that's kind of what sticks out to people, and first impressions are really big as well too. So, and also not being afraid to be yourself too. We all try to be this perfect model of a college or college prospect, and just be yourself, and everybody brings something different to the table, and I think that's what we look for in the college process too, is that there's not a cookie cutter golfer out there where this perfect model, and like everyone was saying too, you got to fit the mold a little bit too, and so bringing out as many different characteristics that each of you bring to the table is really big as well.
I would say don't wait. Recruit yourself. Don't wait to be recruited. It happens way too long. Oh, I should be recruited. I'm beating this player. The squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? Keep after it. Recruit yourself. Contact the coach. You don't know how many emails college coaches get, right? And if they're doing it themselves versus an assistant, or you just don't know, but just keep after it no matter what. I think that's really, really important. And that'll just show that perseverance that you want to be on that team. And if you know you want to be on that team, tell that coach this is your choice. Thing is if it's not, they talk, right? So one coach is going to find out that you said the same thing to them. So just know it's a small community out there. So be honest and open about it. And those are really important attributes as you get through the recruiting process. And if there's anything I can help you with also outside of that, just from my perspective, you can always reach out. All right, final question. As professionals, right? 2 PGA professional coaches and fitness, professional athlete, football player, and professional caddy, right? What does it take to get to the highest level in this? Jermaine, really quickly, we'll touch on it. He made a comment about maybe you're going to play in college, maybe you're going to be on PGA Tour. But what about like winning on the PGA Tour, winning the Masters on the PGA Tour, winning, right? Sometimes when I hear goals, I hear about, I just want to make it on tour. No, don't you really want to win on tour? So let's talk about really quickly, what do you think it takes to like get to that professional level that
To me, just like 2 words pop in my head. It takes work and discipline. Like, obviously you play golf, you don't work golf, but like you guys all love to play the game, and I'm slightly jealous that I'm not back in my old days where I was in your guys' shoes, to where you guys have a really fun like few years or even 7-8 years ahead of you with high school and college golf, and it's yeah, I'm envious because yeah, whether it's the next, I know we got anywhere from 13 to 14 to 18-year-olds, but I don't know if you guys, that's just from Tiger, from Bryson, from Tony. Dude, those guys they just work their butts off. Like Jermaine said, don't make golf, the center of your universe and let it define yourself. But go all in when it comes to just improving and in every facet. And even if golf doesn't work out for you, the reality is, maybe one of you guys has a chance to get on the PGA Tour or on Live one day, and so that's the reality. But it's like if you're able to go just head first into that, like that's going to pay dividends for whether you make it as a golfer or whether you're in real estate or whether you're in whatever industry. And so yeah, I would say, I know I touched on it earlier, but discipline is just like a big thing for me, because it's doing the things you don't want to. It's doing the things you don't want to do and doing it like you love it. That's a quote I heard one time, and I was just like, that's like Tony, for example. One last story, but it was like, do you guys like to practice your weaknesses here? No? A couple yeses, but a lot of no's. Like, for the most part, people don't like to practice their weaknesses. They love, if you're a good driver, I watched you today, you drive the ball great. It's fun for you to go hit driver on the range, right? And so, what I've noticed with those guys is like, and this is the discipline part, is I remember Tony missed like a 4.5 footer on the PGA in front of 70,000 fans. It felt, millions of people on TV. And we went straight to the putting green after, and he hit like 100, and this isn't like, hey, always go hit hundreds or thousands of putts or balls. Like, that's sometimes you need to walk away from it, but most of the time, like, you need to address it. And we went over, and it was like a little left to right 4.5 footer, and for 30-45 minutes he putted just these short little left to righters, and it was like, the easy thing would have been to like just go get, this is at Whistling Straits, had these really good milkshakes in the clubhouse. Like, he could have walked off, felt sorry for himself, got a big chocolate milkshake, made himself feel better, tried to forget about it, go on to the next day. But instead, we went out there, and then he did his cool down. We were out there for an hour and a half, 2 hours after the round. But as people know, like, that he took that moment to, instead of, like I said, running from that, he was like, I need to fix this problem. This is, right now, I feel like this is my weakness, and I'm gonna go figure it out. And I don't care if people walk by me and see me practicing 4-footers and I look dumb or embarrassed. Like, they're past that point. They don't care about what people think about them, And so, just that sort of thing. I would say, like I said, just put in the work. That's the fun part with you guys. Just live at the golf course. If you got spare time, you got energy, go play games with your friends. Go play have competitions. So go play holes. And just be really disciplined in everything you guys do.
Yeah, to piggyback on just kind of working on your weakness, I saw a really cool TikTok video the other day. Yes, I'm on TikTok, I pretty much it. But this guy named Theo Vaughn, he said something really remarkable that I thought to myself. Theo Vaughn, I don't know if you guys know who Theo Vaughn is. He's usually not the most inspirational, but he said this, and I was like, man, that's a bar. But he said, nothing changes if nothing changes. And I was like, that sounds so simple, but like, it's the truth. Like, if you're wanting different results and you're doing the same things and you're not getting them, like, what are we doing? Like, nothing changes if nothing changes. And so, to kind of piggyback off of that, it's like constantly working on what you're not good at. And, for me, a lot of the stuff I'm telling you guys, trust me, like, I have this conversation with myself every night. if I have a bad round, I'm in my car in silence, thinking like, what are we doing? You're just getting it. And so, but that's so true. It's really true. No matter how long the drive is. And the second thing is kind of back to the mental thing. Is like self-doubt is like a huge thing, and you know, for me, that helped me. Like I always felt like I belonged before I even belonged. Like it's just like this mindset. I knew I had the, like for me, talking personally, I didn't get drafted. I was undrafted. I was on the practice squad for half of my rookie year. But there was zero doubt in my head that I knew I belonged in the league. And so for me, sometimes you just gotta know you belong before you even belong. And you know, that just goes into the mental side of having that confidence and being comfortable and being in uncomfortable situations. You know, none of us like being in an uncomfortable, out of our comfort zone. But if you're not challenging yourself and putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, you're never going to be able to grow.
I think my biggest thing is, you know, don't let opportunities pass you by. I mean, from the pro standpoint, I mean, I had dreams when I was your guys' age. I wanted to be a pro baseball player, and then I wanted to be an athletic trainer at the pro level. If someone told me when I was your age that I would be a PGA professional where I am now, I would have told you you were insane. It never even came across my mind even for a second. And you know, my dad told me about a random open house about this golf academy 5 years ago, and I just showed up and, you know, didn't have a closed mind about anything golf opportunity wise. I was working a different job at the time, and Noah approached me with an opportunity to get into the golf industry, and I had a strong passion for golf, and I had no idea what it would unfold, you know, years later. And here we are now. I'm very blessed to be in the PGA America teaching some of you golf and get to play golf too. And I think that's the biggest thing. What I was doing before is that I missed spending time with my family. I missed playing golf whenever I could, and now I get to do both of those things on a regular basis. So the biggest thing is that you never know what an opportunity is going to bring. Just go into it with an open mind, and then just give it a chance.
Love that. Yeah, I mean, these are all great pieces. I would say it takes a village, right? You can't always do it on your own. You need other people around you. You need your team. You need your trainers. You need all that, right? I mean, it's odd. Just the few times I've been at the PGA Championship inside the ropes, a lot of these guys in a major might have their swing coach, but a lot of times they have like a mat there. They have their training staff wherever, right? They're following them around, making sure they're ready, the cool down, whatever it is, and that's pretty incredible. I know that a buddy of mine owns a gym in Cleveland. It's a full TPI, Titleist Performance Institute gym that he won. It's a remarkable gym. And when the Firestone, at Firestone Country Club in the Bridgestone would go there in Akron, the first call he would get was from 10 top 10s that were like, hey, I heard your gym's good, can I come work out in it? Right? They were like all in on how to continue their training and just little teeny, again, millimeters to try to gain to get to that next step. But I recently was out around some pretty good Division I golfers from U of O, and kind of similar, where kid didn't get recruited right away, played pretty well in a tournament, but just kept going and talking to the coach. But he had self-belief, and that was what he said. He said the number one thing was self-belief, and that goes hand in hand with what Jermaine said too. So anyway, this is great, you guys. I really appreciate you guys coming up. 8 hours drive coming down. This is incredible to have this series, and you know, we're really thankful to have it running live. One of the best golf courses, obviously, in Southern Oregon, and I can't wait to do it again. So, any further thoughts from you, Jermaine? Or?
No, we can do pairings for tomorrow.
Yeah. So, without further ado, we'll turn this thing off real quick and get some pairings going on.